Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Active Learner with Nola. Today we're talking about SQ5R or active reading. This strategy requires you to question, recite, and reflect so your brain is working with the material rather than just skimming it. What is SQ5R? S stands for survey, Q is question, and the 5 R's are read, respond, record, recite, and review. Next, we have SQ5R broken down into steps. Survey is skimming the material to get an overview, making sure you're looking at titles, visuals, and headings, and thinking about what you know and don't. Also, read the first and last paragraphs. For question, as you go through the survey part, write down any questions that you have, and look up words that are unfamiliar. For read, go back and reread again, and make sure you're looking for answers to the questions that you wrote down. Next is respond. Answer your questions in your own words. And then record, underlying key concepts, and taking notes in a way that works for you. Recite is basically summarizing out loud or teaching the material to someone else to reinforce your memory. The last step is review. Revisit the material regularly to strengthen your retention, and you can do this by summarizing info again, creating maps, concept maps, or discussing with peers in your class. By looking at one of my primary source documents, we can go through how I use this strategy in real life. So pause here to read. And then first, I use the strategy in my US History 2112 class to gain an in-depth understanding of my readings, especially my primary sources, which you saw in the last slide. Let's briefly go through one together. President Harry S. Truman's press release on the atomic bomb from 1945. First, survey. I would start off by just after reading, going through the primary source, I would start off by kind of bullet pointing down everything I know about the atomic bomb. Just like off the top of my head, bulleting down what I know. Next, for question, while I'm surveying and going through some examples of questions that I have put down here are 1. What reasons did Truman give for using the bomb? 2. How did he describe its effects? And 3. How might the press release have shaped public opinion in 1945? It's important that when you're creating these questions for SQ5R that you're not being very basic and you're not saying something like, oh, when did the bomb drop? It's not something that can be answered yes or no or a flat out time. It's got to be something that has lots of, you can give more reasoning for, and there's a lot of different views you could take or argue based on the text. Next, I would reread the press release looking for answers to the questions that I just mentioned, making sure I am paying attention to the tone and word choice. I highlighted something here. Let there be no mistake, we shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war. This is just an example of kind of showing how the tone of Truman's press release, just showing how he wanted his citizens to be confident in the nation's ability to combat the enemy at the time, and showing that they would do whatever they could, whatever strength they had to go against Japan. Next, I would respond to my questions in my own words, writing that down in my notes, and then take notes on anything else I feel like I need to make sure I know and stuff I didn't, and underline key concepts just how I did in the last slide. Also, I need to make sure I'm reciting out loud, and I do this by sometimes talking out loud to myself, saying like it's a story, especially for this history content. And also sometimes just teaching it to a peer is also helpful. And then for review, last step, revisiting my notes when I need to study, and sometimes I make a mini timeline, which helps me map out the events of complicated things like war, and I also discuss with peers in my class. Moving on to challenges and tips. At first, this strategy can seem very time consuming, and it is. But with practice, you'll be able to go through the steps from memory and much faster than when you started. This approach is also more individualized, but it can be helpful to compare your SQ5R with peers if they try it too. This is something I personally have not done yet, but I definitely can see that it would be helpful to learn from each other's approaches. Over time, the strategy can be adapted to your reading material as you keep practicing, and it allows you to work with what's best for you. It has helped me stay organized with my work and identify areas of where I'm most confused. This approach simplifies my dense readings and even helps me teach the material to others, which reinforces my own understanding. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.